Okay, picture this. So there's a 22-year-old, right? She's scrolling, and she stumbles on one of those 15-second videos, you know the ones, 9 secret signs of ADHD. And like by symptom 3, she's nodding along. By number 6, she's already texting her friend like, OMG, this is me. And by the time the video ends, she is absolutely convinced.
Except, she doesn't have ADHD. But here's the thing. She's about to spend the next 6 months telling everyone she does. And honestly, she is not alone, not by a long shot.
So that leads to the big question, right? Why does it feel like every single person on the internet suddenly has ADHD? Well, the answer is kind of wild. It involves a carnival trick from the 1940s, a weird quirk of our brains, and what might be one of the most profitable misunderstandings in all of human history.
First, let's just talk about the sheer scale of this online mental health boom, because it is genuinely staggering.
I mean, just think about how fast this blew up. Back in 2019, mental health content, it was this tiny little niche on social media. Fast forward to 2023, and boom, it's a $14 billion industry. And get this, analysts are predicting that by 2025, it's going to be the #1 most watched type of content on every major platform. I'm talking bigger than everything else.
One study checked out just the top 100 hashtag ADHD videos on TikTok. Get this, together, they had pulled in almost 500 million views.
But what's really fascinating is how specific this whole thing has gotten. Right now, on Instagram, there are more videos about ADHD than there are about cats. Just let that sink in for a second. We, as a species, have collectively decided that watching videos about why we can't focus is more interesting than watching videos of cats. That's a milestone, I guess.
And this right here just perfectly illustrates the huge disconnect. See, actual clinical ADHD diagnoses, the ones from, trained psychiatrists, that number has been super stable for decades. It's always been around 5 to 7% of adults. But self-diagnosis, that has just exploded. We're talking surveys showing that over 40% of Gen Z now identifies as neurodivergent. Which, that's not how statistics work. You can't have 40% of the population be the exception. At that point, that's just the new norm.
Okay, so what is actually going on here? Well, it turns out the reason for all this isn't some newfangled internet thing. Nope, it's a really old psychological trick, and it's been hiding in plain sight for almost 80 years.
It's called the Barnum Effect. And yeah, it's named after that Barnum, the circus guy, P.T. Barnum, famous for the line, "There's a sucker born every minute." Basically, it's this weird little quirk in our brains that makes us read some vague, general statement and think, wow, that is so me, even though it could apply to literally anyone.
Here's how they figured it out. Back in 1948, this psychologist, Bertram, gives his students a personality test. He tells them he's going to give them each a totally personalized analysis based on their answers. So they get their results back, they read them, and they are just blown away by how accurate it is.
On average, they rated their unique analysis a 4.3 out of 5 for accuracy. They were saying things like, "This is literally me," or "How did you even know that?" And then, Forer drops the bomb. The twist? Every single student got the exact same analysis, word for word.
And where did he get this magical text? He just copied it out of a newspaper astrology column. It was full of these gems like, "You have a great need for other people to like and admire you." Who doesn't want that? Or how about, "At times you are extroverted and sociable, while at other times you are introverted and reserved." Yeah, that's just called being a person. Or my favorite, "You have a tendency to be critical of yourself." Does that sound familiar? Of course it does. It's everybody.
What Forer had stumbled upon was something really fundamental about us. Our brains are absolutely desperate to feel special, to believe that these vague, universal statements are actually deep, personal insights about us. You could say we are basically just ego machines with legs.
Okay, so let's flash forward 75 years to right now. Let's look at today's viral ADHD content. This is an actual list of hidden ADHD symptoms I saw that went crazy viral. Ready? You sometimes lose track of time doing something you enjoy. You procrastinate on boring tasks. You walk into a room and completely forget why you're there. Ringing any bells? See, every single one of those isn't really a symptom of ADHD. It's a symptom of being a human being. This is the Barnum Effect on absolute steroids, supercharged by the internet.
But look, the Barnum Effect is only part of the puzzle. It doesn't fully explain why ADHD specifically has become the internet's favorite diagnosis. For that, we need to add a second ingredient to the mix, another little glitch in our mental software.
Here's something you gotta understand about your brain. It's not a neutral scientist searching for the truth. Nope. It's more like a lawyer who's already decided what verdict it wants. So once that little seed of an idea gets planted, maybe I have ADHD. Your brain goes into full-on lawyer mode. It starts collecting every little piece of evidence that supports the theory, and it actively throws out anything that contradicts it.
So think about it like this. Your brain will assess over the one time you forgot your keys this month, but completely ignore the 100 times you remembered them just fine. It'll highlight the moment you zoned out in that boring meeting, but it won't even mention that huge project you finished perfectly on time. Your brain builds this whole case file, this proof you have ADHD, without ever stopping to ask the most important question of all. Is any of this actually different from what happens in everybody else's brain?
But, this isn't just about our own weird brains. There's a much bigger system at play here. I mean, why is ADHD content the thing flooding your feed? Why isn't it, content about gallbladder disease? That's a real thing people have too, right?
The answer, unfortunately, is really simple, and yeah, it's a little cynical. It's money.
So, a study in 2023 looked at mental health advice on TikTok and found that a whopping 83% of it was misleading, or just plain false. And look, it's not because all these creators are evil or trying to trick people. Most of them probably believe what they're saying. The problem is that the algorithm itself is designed to reward content that makes you go, aha, that's me, I have that.
Think of it like a loop, a feedback loop from hell. A creator posts a vague, super relatable video. It makes you say, whoa, that's me, so you hit share. All those shares mean more views. More views mean more ad money for the creator and the platform. So what does the creator do? They make more of the stuff that gets views. And what does the algorithm do? It shows it to even more people. It's this perfect self-reinforcing cycle where being accurate is way, way less important than just being relatable.
In economics, they have a term for this. It's a market failure. A video called 9 Secret Signs of ADHD Everyone Misses will always get more clicks than a video called The DSM-5 Diagnostic Criteria for ADHD Require Comprehensive Assessment by a Licensed Clinician. One of those is snappy and engaging. The other is, well, it's correct. Take a wild guess which one gets 12 million views. Okay, so maybe you're thinking, so what? People on the internet are wrong about something. What's the big deal? Who does this actually hurt? Well, it turns out it hurts a lot of people.
First and foremost, it hurts people who actually have ADHD. This is a serious neurodevelopmental condition. For a lot of them, medication isn't a life hack. It's essential just to function day to day. But since 2022, there have been massive medication shortages, partly driven by this huge flood of new prescriptions from telehealth companies and online diagnoses. On top of that, the wait time to see a real specialist has basically tripled because clinics are just overwhelmed by people showing up convinced they have a diagnosis they got from their phone.
Second, it really hurts the people who are struggling but with something else entirely. Things like depression, chronic burnout, anxiety, even medical stuff like thyroid issues. All of them can have symptoms that look a lot like ADHD from the outside. So if you grab onto that ADHD label, you might stop looking. And that means you might never figure out what you actually have. You could literally spend years trying to fix the wrong problem.
And finally, it hurts the whole conversation. Because when a real medical condition becomes a trendy identity label, something strange happens. It stops being a treatable issue and turns into this permanent, unchangeable part of your personality. It's like your boss can't really help you with strategies to focus if being unable to focus is just who you are now. That self-diagnosis can feel super empowering at first, but it can actually trap you in the long run.
So that leaves one big question. Why? Why do we do this? Why do so many smart, savvy people who would laugh at a horoscope, fall for this hook, line, and sinker? Well, here's the uncomfortable truth. It's because getting a diagnosis feels a whole lot better than just being ordinary.
Think about it. If you can't focus and you have ADHD, well, now you're neurodivergent. You're special. You have a community, a tribe. You're not alone. But if you can't focus and you're just struggling, well, then you're just a regular person having a hard time. You're ordinary. You're on your own. And that is a much harder, much lonelier story to tell yourself.
The story of I'm neurodivergent is comforting. It's really comforting. It gives your struggles a name. It gives you a community, a hashtag.
But the accurate story is often a lot harder to swallow. I'm a person who needs to build better habits. See, one story offers you an identity, the other offers you responsibility. And our brains are just wired to pick the comforting story almost every time.
Now, let's be super clear here. It's not all bad, not at all. This huge wave of awareness has been incredibly positive in some really important ways. It's helped groups that have been historically underdiagnosed, especially adult women and people of color, to finally put a name to their lifelong struggles and actually go seek help. It's definitely reduced stigma, and it's empowered a lot of people to have that crucial first conversation with their doctor.
So what's the path forward? What should you do? First, your struggles are real, no matter what's causing them, so validate that. Second, if you really think you might have ADHD, please go seek a proper clinical assessment from a professional. It is the only way to know for sure. Third, if it turns out you don't have it, you can still tackle those focus and motivation issues with proven tools like better sleep, exercise, or therapy. And finally, we can all help by championing accurate, nuanced information over just relatable anecdotes.
You know, at the end of the day, the Barnum Effect, whether it's at a carnival in 1948 or on a glowing screen in your hand today, it works for a very simple, very human reason. We all have this deep, deep need to feel understood, and being seen, even by an algorithm or a stranger reading a script, well, that feels an awful lot like being loved.
So here's a little thought experiment. The next time the algorithm serves you up one of those videos, you know the kind, that ends with, if this sounds like you might have X. Just for a second, pause and ask yourself this one question. What would happen if, right after watching that, you watched a video about a totally different condition, like any other one? How many of those symptoms would you relate to too? I have a feeling the answer might just surprise you.